On March 2, 2017, the Utah Court of Appeals issued its decision in the case of Smith v. Smith. Here is the link to the court's full decision, and we include that link in the description section of this video report. The issue presented was whether the trial court properly awarded Sharon the entire inheritance distribution from her family partnership. Specifically, the court's review focuses narrowly on the question of whether the inheritance changed in character from separate property to joint property simply because Sharon, the ex-wife, deposited it into a financial account. The Court of Appeals agreed with the trial court that it did not. Keith, the ex-husband, made the argument that turned on the financial accounts provision of the trust, which provided that all new accounts in any and all other financial institutions in which new accounts are opened in the future will be owned equally by Keith's and Sharon's individual trusts. Keith relies on the language of the proposition that, quote, once Sharon placed her inheritance in the financial account, end quote, the inheritance converted into joint property, and Keith was thus entitled to half of it. But Keith's argument ignored another plain key provision of the trust, paragraph 4, which provided that all right, title, and interest in and to Sharon's mother's trust, which was established for Sharon's benefit, was Sharon's separate property. After her mother died in 2012, Sharon received a large inheritance distribution from the family partnership by check. Sharon deposited the check into 2 money market accounts in her own name that she had opened for that purpose. In 2013, the Smiths prepared their joint accounts, and not long thereafter, Sharon filed for divorce. Keith argued that at the divorce trial, that he was entitled to half of Sharon's inheritance distribution. The trial court rejected Keith's primary argument and determined that the inheritance money from the family partnership was Sharon's separate property and that Keith was not entitled to a share. The court's reasoning was based on 2 independent decisions. First, the court determined that the inheritance distribution was a traditional inheritance, which is ordinarily considered separate property under Utah law. Second, the court determined that Sharon's inheritance did not thereafter become joint property under subsection 2 of Schedule A when she deposited the money in new accounts, because subsection 4 of Schedule A applied to the inheritance check. This meant all the distributions from the family partnership belonged to Sharon, even if she deposited the money into a financial account held in her name. Keith's argument that, quote, Sharon could take the distribution in cash, reinvest it, or spend it, or anything else, close quote, so long as she did not deposit it into a financial account, ignored the pragmatic ramifications of Schedule A, reading it as broadly as he suggested. Given the financial realities of the modern world, the Court of Appeals questioned how an individual could reasonably make use of or even secure a substantial amount of money without utilizing a financial account of some kind. It is simply unrealistic to expect Sharon to store a distribution in cash under the proverbial mattress. Likewise, it is difficult to imagine how Sharon might have undertaken the obvious next step of reinvesting her inheritance without using a financial account, at least as an intermediary. The court concluded that the partnership provision set out in Schedule A of the Smith Family Trust established that Sharon's interest in the family partnership, including any distribution from the partnership, was her separate and exclusive property, and that the financial accounts provision did not transform the inheritance distribution into joint property when she deposited it into her financial accounts, held in her name alone.